Hello and welcome to the BullensMagic podcast. I'm your host, Seth Dussault, alongside my co-host, Rebecca Osowski, and we're getting ready for a very special week, and we got a very special guest coming on. It's our team owner, Chris Thompson. But before we get to that, Rebecca, huge split up in Vermont this most recent weekend, and now, after 3 weeks where we're basically on the road every day, a ton of home cooking coming up. How excited are you to get back to Westfield for not just one, but 4 home games this week?
It's so exciting. I'm happy to be back at Bullens and have the NESN game coming up this weekend, and hopefully we can continue producing and winning some games.
I know I grew up watching tons of baseball games on NESN. I know you did too. How awesome is this going to be on Saturday?
I'm so excited. Not only is it so exciting for me to be there, but I'm so excited to showcase the talent that we have playing for us, showcase what Westfield has to offer, and hopefully there's people from outside of Western Mass and outside Western Mass and the Futures fans that will watch and enjoy what we have to offer.
Westfield's a baseball town. There's no question about that. It's been such a privilege to be part of it these last 4 years, and it couldn't happen without our guests. Chris Thompson, team owner, team founder, has been here since day one, has been a phenomenal leader. I'm really excited to bring him onto the podcast and talk about the Starfires. We've got so much ground to cover. So without further ado, here he is, the man himself, Chris Thompson, here on the BullensMagic podcast. Joining us now on the BullensMagic podcast is the man himself, our team owner, Chris Thompson. Chris, how are we doing today?
Hey, good afternoon, Rebecca, Seth, how are you?
It's game day, best day.
It is game day. It's also camp day and camp week. We're here of day 2 of the Starfires Youth Baseball Camp, and about 85 campers strong.
Let's start there then. You're at Billy Bullens Field right now. These youth camps. What exactly goes on with these? What's the deal?
Yeah, so we're excited to host some local youth in the community. We have campers aging from age 6 through 12, and they really come from all over: East Hampton, Chicopee, West Springfield, Southwick, Agawam, and of course a lot of local Westfield Little Leaguers as well. The camp is led by our coach, Dembro, and assistant coach Dan, and several of the players. So it gives these kids a chance to kind of learn from some highly qualified college athletes, and it's a variety of skills and drills throughout the day and throughout the week. This is week 1, July 11th through the 15th, and then we have a second session that will be taking place in August 1st through the 5th. So we've had great weather. The campers get lunch during the day, they get autographs, they learn different pitching drills, and we're able to get a lot of the kids out here to play some home run derby after lunch. So it's a pretty cool day.
That's awesome. And now we'll start back at the beginning. The Starfires were created in 2019, and you brought that collegiate summer team to a city that's always been surrounded by baseball. It's always been a big thing in Westfield. Why did you want to get involved with the Starfires and then bring the team to Westfield?
Yeah, great question, Rebecca. I've been involved in sports marketing for 20 years, and it was an opportunity to own my own franchise and have my footprints and fingerprints all over a new brand in Western Massachusetts. So yeah, we kicked off in 2019, and we've been through several challenges, as you can well imagine, but here we are in season 4. And as of today, I think we're sitting in 3rd place, obviously playoff bound. It's just a great opportunity to showcase Westfield and Bullensfield. This is where we wanted to be early on when we were awarded the franchise. The city's been terrific to us. Everybody from, starting off with Mayor Sullivan, when we first got the franchise off the ground. He's really the one who got this over the 1-yard line. But even Mayor Humison and now Mayor McCabe, they're all extremely supportive. And the city as a whole, from Babe Ruth and the local high school teams who play here. It's really some great synergies. But we want to bring a winner to Westfield, and teams playing really well this season. We just got to keep the BullensMagic alive and well here, Seth.
No, absolutely. You talked about your decades of experience, and before the Starfires, I think people probably knew you best as the vice president of the Springfield Falcons. You worked a long time with a Western Massachusetts sports legend, Bruce Landon. What's the most important thing you learned from him that has helped you here now with your own franchise in the Starfires?
Yeah, Bruce is a terrific guy. He is a longtime mentor and friend. Bruce really took me from the American Hockey League headquarters, where I was a marketing coordinator back in the early 2000s, and brought me to the Falcons, and I was able to work my way up the ladder there. Bruce always told me, have the courage of your convictions. And I've always kept that in the back of my mind. And, sometimes you got to swallow your pride along the way. Bruce is really a guy who I've leaned on even early on when starting the Starfires. He was one of the first individuals that I met with for breakfast and told the story and kept him in the loop on how we were going to pull this off. Super guy. And as you know, he's done so much for hockey in Springfield, but he's also helped a lot of young professionals grow their careers. And a lot of them have moved on outside of Western Massachusetts. I'm a West Side guy, Western Mass, born and raised. I feel very fortunate that I've been able to have a long career here and stay right here in Western Mass. That's something I'm very proud of.
And you spend a lot of time at the ballpark. We mentioned that you're there now for the summer camp. Why is it so important to you to be so involved and visible at the field, working in all aspects? I've seen you in concessions and ticket sales. So why is it so important for you to be so visible?
Well, as you know, at this level, you have small staffs, and you have folks who do everything from pulling the tarp to trash pickup to selling tickets over the phone. I think for us, it's important to, groom younger staff members into leadership roles. And when everyone's working collectively together at the ballpark, we all get here early afternoon before the gates even open. And then we're here just as the lights are shutting off after post game. There's just a lot that goes into it. And there's a lot that goes into the off season when we're working behind the scenes, creating promotions and putting together a marketing plan, reaching out and finding new groups and creating fan experiences. And then the culmination of all that happens at the ballpark. So we have a really great group of interns and senior staff that pull this off every day. So I get excited just working with them, and our players too. It's cool to be around these guys. It's not as serious of a setting as it might be during their college season. They come here, they're loose, they're taking BP. The guys are joking around with each other. They're getting mic'd up for podcasts. So, I just enjoy being around it.
One of the most important things to the Starfires brand is, of course, Starfire IPA. This was a thing that we've had pretty much since day one, partnership with Amherst Brewing. How did that come about? What went into actually creating the product, from the can with the logo to the actual beer itself?
Early in 2019, I was having lunch with Harold from the Hangar, and he owns Amherst Brewing Company as well as the Hangar restaurants. And it was actually a sponsorship sales pitch to get the Hangar involved with the team. And I mentioned to Harold that I would really like to have our own brand of beer to serve at the ballpark, but we need to have it in about 2 months. And I spent a lot of time creating the can, the wrap itself, and he went to work on the ingredients, and it was a handshake deal. And he's I'll have this ready to go before opening night. So we've had it on draft at the Hangar, and then it's the #1 selling beer at the ballpark here in Westfield. So we promote it a lot. Again, just another piece of our brand that we're very proud of, that we got off the ground during the infancy of the creation of the Starfires, and we got it off the ground very quickly.
And we talked about how the team came together in 3 short months. The beer also came together in 2 short months. And then you had COVID-19 impacting the last few seasons. So what do you think has been the biggest improvement since day one, now that we're in what you can call the first real season of the team?
So we're much more organized. We have accountability. We have structure for our staff members. Everyone has a different role. The role that Rebecca, you and Seth play up in the press box, I don't always see what goes on a game night there, because like you mentioned, we might be down in the beer garden or running hot dogs in concessions. So there's a lot that goes into this. And I think we've grown as a staff. We've grown as an organization. We now have a new manager in Kyle, who kind of came to us and gave us his game plan. Evan and Hunter Golden, who do a great job on the baseball ops. Evan really overseeing stadium operations and baseball administration, everything that he does to, grow the credibility of what we're trying to bring to Bullens. Hunter on the player personnel side. We brought in Ben Arnold over the last 18 months to head up group sales and promotions. So we finally have individuals who have specific roles. And in year one, it was just a mad scramble. It's nice to have more defined roles right now.
It definitely is. Getting to the ballpark and knowing what's expected and what's needed is definitely a helpful thing for sure. The franchise itself is named after the fighter jets at Barnes Air Force Base, and obviously a great connection with Barnes. Recently, we did the specialty jerseys, which we've worn twice now this season. We're probably going to wear them a couple more times, with the 104th Fighter Wing crest right on the front. What was the thought process going into actually utilizing their logo as part of our uniform? I know obviously we do have our logo on the uniform, but what went into trying to strengthen that connection we have with Barnes and the 104th?
We had conversations early on in 2019 with the 104th and having a special night here at the ballpark. Those plans were put on hold for 2 full seasons. And that's when we went back to them this winter, and we wanted to create a specialty jersey that tied in really where the namesake came from. Evan Morehouse actually deserves credit for coming up with the jersey design. He changed some of the color schemes of the 104th to blend into the Starfire blues and the 01085, which is our zip code on the back. But as you alluded to, we had an awesome afternoon at Barnes with our players, and it was pretty cool unveiling those jerseys there. And as you know, on Military Appreciation Night, we had a tremendous crowd. A lot of those were folks representing the 104th, just to pay homage to Westfield and to the Air Force Base and where it all started. And the goal is to auction those jerseys off towards the end of the season that would benefit a couple of charities located on the base.
That's awesome. And I think that that's really special, coming especially from where the team name is from, and continuing to have that collaboration. In addition to that collaboration, we've also done a lot of work partnering with some local schools and hosting some of the younger elementary school kids at the ballpark. How important is that, and what's the value in having events like those?
So we put a lot of effort into our community outreach, and those conversations start really after the following season. And, we'll talk with school principals and superintendents and choir directors to give them opportunity to have several months to plan their night. And it could be a PTO fundraiser, but more importantly, it's an opportunity for those kids to come out and sing God Bless America and the national anthem, and really, promote their own school. And what that does, it brings out their families who may be exposed to the Starfires for the very first time. But it helps with our fan experiences. So, we'd love to have a live national anthem every game of a local church or choir or school group. We also do quite a bit with local little leagues and travel softball teams. They're able to be introduced on the field with our players prior to the starting lineup. So it really wraps up our entire pregame ceremony. It may be the bagpipers that are featured during Irish night, or a ceremonial first pitch from a game sponsor or the Boy Scouts. So all these organizations, we want them to come out and have an event at Bullens Field and stay with your group and watch the game afterwards. So we put a lot into those fan experiences. And, I mentioned Ben Arnold, who is actually walking by right now, who is kind of the liaison for our camps. He's really kind of led up our group sales efforts over the last 18 months. And he's responsible for really a lot of those crowds that come in, and that's how we build up our attendance.
And Ben has done a fantastic job. It's sort of funny in a way that the thing he's probably most well known for this season is that pitching appearance in one of those school day games where he struck out 5 New Britain Bees in a 4 1/3 inning win. But he's really just done a ton of different things. And speaking of the actual baseball side of things, you've mentioned Kyle Dombrowski, you've mentioned his work as a manager. What did you see in him initially that made you think that this was the guy to hand the reins over to, even though he hasn't had no previous head coaching experience at the collegiate level? He's been an assistant coach in a couple places, currently at Spalding down in Kentucky, I believe. He seems like he's done a fantastic job. What was it that you saw that made you think that this would happen?
Yeah, the conversations that we had in the off season when he was interested in that head coaching job, he relates to our players. As you mentioned, not being a head coach before, sure, there's risk, but we've had conversations of he just wants these kids to get better. He has conversations with them after games in the dugout offline. He doesn't want to take the bat out of anyone's hands. Like we joked up in Vermont a couple road trips ago where I think Vermont had 4 bunts in a row, and he's just not going to do that. That's not how he manages. He wants these kids to come up there and they'll find their holes. But he's just a great human being. Kyle's a really good guy. He's also running the camp here for the next 2 weeks. So he's built a good assistant team with Dan, who's also running the camp. I hope Kyle's here for a long time. I really do.
And the Starfires overall got out to a very good start, and Denbro's obviously been a huge part in that. What do you think has been the biggest key to the team's success thus far?
You're right. We started off 7-0, 70 runs over those first 7 games, which is pretty impressive. They were playing almost a National League style of baseball, which I love. Hit and run, double steals, bunting here and there when needed. I think it's a good group of guys. They want to be here. They want to be in Westfield. They gel together. The team that was put together was here pretty much from the very beginning, and they're going to be here to the very end and hopefully mid-August. I'm proud of what these guys have accomplished so far.
Franchise has gotten a lot of local recognition, but it's nice to get on a bigger stage. We'll talk about the NESN game next, but last weekend, ESPN had the Starfires, a top 10 play made by Cooper Johnson, one of our outfielders from Adelphi University, who robbed a home run up in Vermont. It made it on the top 10. What does it mean for an organization like ours, especially one that's so young, only 4 years old, to get that national recognition, to be on the biggest sports network in the country?
Yeah, it's not just around New England, but you're right, around the country. And I think what it says is that the Futures League has respect around the country as one of the top summer collegiate programs when you have ESPN taking notice. And yeah, I was there at the game. I was actually at Centennial Field in Vermont when that happened. And actually it's a testament to you, Seth. You're the one who actually at 1 a.m. when I sent you a text, track down that footage, and we were able to get that up on social media rather quickly. So thanks to you and Rebecca and our media team for, constantly taking some top plays and trying to get national exposure. But the Futures League as a whole has been on several times this summer on SportsCenter Top 10. And it's because each of our media departments, take pride in these plays and have the connections with ESPN to be able to pull it off. It was a heck of a catch. That was something.
I was going to say that's the third time that somebody from the Futures, I want to say it's Worcester and Nashua, have both had plays on SportsCenter as well. So maybe by the end of the year we'll have all 8 teams on ESPN. Just hopefully none of the plays are against us.
That's right.
And as Seth mentioned, the NESN game is coming up. We'll be playing the Worcester Bravehearts on Saturday. First pitch is at 1. It's the third time the Starfires will be on NESN. The first time the NESN game will be at Bullens. How important, what does this game mean for not only the Starfires, but the city as a whole?
Yeah, so the Starfires are 2-0 on NESN in 2020 and 2021. We were victorious, so hopefully we can keep the winning streak alive. Yeah, very excited that the Futures League selected Bullens Field as a home site for a game this summer. And this really started back during the pandemic in 2020. Joe Palucci, our commissioner, took the lead and negotiated a long-term agreement with NESN for multiple games each summer, where we can highlight one of our franchises either at home or on the road during that season. And, Bullens has come a long way. We've hosted the Babe Ruth World Series nationally twice and many regionals, and now will be featured on NESN. So the city's extremely excited. I think it says a lot about where the Starfires have come over the last 4 years to be able to host a game on a regional network. Yeah, we're very excited. It's a 1:00 matinee game here, and we're encouraging all fans to bring signs to perhaps be seen on TV behind the backstop. So we should have a great crowd on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for that game. All of us are from this area. We all grew up watching baseball games on NESN, so to actually have our team be on NESN is definitely going to be a special day. So bring your signs if you're coming to the game. Hopefully you are. Let's talk a little bit more about sort of the higher level stuff in the organization. And you've mentioned Evan Morehouse and the role he's played in everything that he does. It's hard to list it all off. One of the things that he put together was a list of core values of our franchise. And the first and foremost one is family. Why is there such an emphasis on that organizationally, both on the field and off?
Well, one of the reasons is we've had the Thompson and Morehouse family involved with the creation of the Starfires from the beginning. And, obviously myself and Donnie taking the lead on the ownership piece. Evan was our first hire. I remember having lunch with him and filling him in on some of the roles that we could see him taking on as we got this off the ground. He was there at the shortstop on February 20th, 2019, as we launched the franchise. He was on stage introducing, the baseball operation end of things and created our opening video. But we have Evan's mom, who has volunteered in the concession stand, my mom doing the same up in the box office. And then now, a couple years later, my daughter Juliana has been running around at the field with me. So, it's really kind of a family business, if you will. And that stems from kind of the one of the first core values.
What do you hope the players take away from their time in Westfield and their experience playing for the Starfires?
Well, we have some unbelievable host families that have stepped up and many of them have been with us from the beginning. And each year they come back and give us rave reviews about the player or players who have lived with them for that summer. And, they get to know them on a personal level, and their kids get to know them on a personal level. They come to games, and, towards the end of the season, they're taking pictures with each other on the field. So I think the host family experience is important. The city of Westfield, in terms of the restaurants and what we have to offer during the year, the facilities, we have, Anytime Fitness, and we have, Swingtown Cages over at the shortstop. So we have facilities for them to be able to work out at their leisure, and those are partners of ours. Coming here and playing at historic Billy Bullens Field and experiencing BullensMagic during a couple of walk-offs, which is pretty cool. I think there's several things that we try to implement during the season. We have next week, we're going to be putting together several foursomes, and we'll be golfing over at East Mountain Country Club for the players. So a little team outing, team bonding. There's things like that we try to put together during the year. So the goal is for us to have them go back to campus and tell the story, talk about what playing in Westfield was like for them.
Last question before we let you go. With a big week on tap that includes 4 home games, includes the NESN game, and a lot of home games coming up down the stretch run, heading toward the postseason, what is your message for Starfires fans and people in the Pioneer Valley?
So the season is about halfway over. Our Starfires are in playoff contention. It's a great group of guys. We have some prospects here. It's a great place to watch a baseball game. As you said, 4 games this week, more to come. Come check us out. Come down, bring a couple baseballs to get autographed. Bring your appetite. Indulge in some of our concessions, maybe even a Starfire IPA, and come watch some Starfire baseball.
Experience the BullensMagic. There's nothing like it. Chris, thanks so much for joining us today. It's always great to talk to you. We'll see you at the ballpark and all over Westfield.
Yeah, and Rebecca and Seth, I want to also say to you two, thanks for creating this podcast. I know that we have tremendous feedback from our players' families who listen to you guys every week from around the country because their son has been featured, and fans from around Western Mass who tune in and follow us religiously. I know that they enjoy the weekly podcast and the work that the two of you do in the press box with press releases and the games on Blue Frame. They're very, very professional. So I want to thank you two for stepping up and getting this off the ground this year. Thank you.
Well, thank you, CT. It means a lot. That'll do it for this edition of the BullensMagic podcast. For my co-host, Rebecca Osowski, for our team owner, Chris Thompson, I'm Seth Dussault, the voice of the Westfield Starfires. We will see you at Bullens Field.